It's one of those things where it's like their foot's in the door of my heart. And I left that door open. And no, but I want to see more. I want to see more what they come up with.
They've possessed your heart.
They have, yeah.
We're talking about the movie Talk to Me. Spoilers? I think probably this whole thing is going to have spoilers in it.
Spoilers everywhere. This isn't even a review. It's not like it's not really an explainer. It's just us half reviewing, half talking about Talk to Me.
Yeah. So Talk to Me is a 2022 Australian horror film created by Danny and Michael Philippou.
I've never seen any of their stuff. Like, I don't know who they are.
But apparently they're YouTubers, which is like very, very cool. So they've been creating content for YouTube for years, and they made a very, very good, very scary horror movie. Yeah.
The film is shot really well, I'll say. Like, we watch a lot of independent horror as well, and this one felt like it was made by professionals. It did. It was great, especially for a first feature film. It was crisp throughout. The lighting, the angles, the pacing of it, like it didn't. There was no point where I was watching this and I felt like I was watching a movie.
I was super excited when this came out and people were getting pumped about it. We don't generally go to the theater, so we waited until it came out on VOD. Yeah. The general premise is that it's about a group of teenagers who are able to contact spirits through an embalmed hand that's been kind of passed around from people to people. It opens on an Australian house party. And there's a guy kind of walking through this party trying to find his brother. I will say, I thought, like, throughout, the choices of music were very, very good.
Yeah. It all had this sort of, like, dark vibe.
Works really well with the different scenes. This party scene, I think, is a good example. You've got, like, all these kids around. This guy's trying to find his brother, kind of, like, working his way through. He finds his brother in, like, a back bedroom and tries to, like, get his brother to leave with him. And it's pretty clear at that point that there's something wrong with his brother. He's acting strangely. I think there's, like, a mention of, like, dude, you better get your brother out of my house. And then when they come out, his brother stabs him and then kills himself. Yeah.
Really strong themes of suicide throughout the entire movie, actually.
Yeah,
so, like,
definitely.
If that's not something you're into, I would not watch. Like that, mental health and drug use, I think, are probably some of the bigger themes.
And there are lots of themes throughout the movie about that kind of, like, kids dealing with really heavy topics and then, like, the aftermath of stuff like that. And it's actually in the very beginning clip too, the guy whose name is Duckett that stabs his brother and then kills himself. Yeah. There's the mention of the fact that his dad is dead.
Which I didn't pick that up on the first viewing, but the second time it's like both Duckett and the main character, Mia, have a recently deceased parent, which I think is really important to how their stories play out in the rest of the movie.
The foreshadowing from that first scene is actually pretty brilliant.
A lot of details that are important throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
So the entire thing, it basically is like a synopsis of the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Yeah. So you basically get to see, like, you see the culmination of the overuse of the hand in the first scene. And then you see the journey from the very beginning with somebody else throughout the rest of the movie. Yeah,
which is really interesting. And it's interesting seeing it the second time, being able to put those pieces together a little bit, because you don't know when you're seeing that intro scene on a first watch what's going to happen, obviously, the rest of the movie. So when you come back to it, I think you can link it up a little bit more with kind of like that was the very abbreviated version, foreshadowing all the things that are going to happen, that we're going to see in more detail with a different character. And in a way, it's almost like, to me anyway, it's almost insinuating that this is like a pattern that probably continues to repeat around this hand. There's an interesting thing that happens in the beginning of this movie too, and like I've seen a couple of people talk about it, but there are a couple of times where the main character Mia sneezes in the first kind of like intro scenes around like her interacting with people around like her mom's passing.
Oh, you're gonna tell me your theory on that?
Yeah, well, I don't have a theory, so I read up about it because I think it's actually, we were watching Mr. Gigi talk about this movie.
When he was like, I don't see anything here. Like, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just a stupid thing that they threw in.
But it would be odd for them to add it.
It was pretty heavy-handed and obvious when it happened both times.
Right. Yeah. So it's odd for it to be there if it wasn't on purpose. Or if it wasn't meant to be there, because it's clearly scripted in. Yeah. So the couple of things that I read that I thought, I mean, either one of these could be true, or it could be neither of these and something else. So one of them was that basically that theory that like when people used to sneeze and then you say like God bless you, and it's kind of to make sure that the demons
don't come in. Right. Yeah. I didn't think about that. And nobody says bless you or whatever. It's just like, oh, you're sick. Like,
right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, interesting.
So that's kind of interesting, like putting that together with the fact that we're about to watch a movie about demons and spirits, possession. Yeah, exactly. And then the other theory that I read was kind of throughout the movie, there's references from different characters to Mia's like previous drug use. Yeah. So like the fact that she's experimented with drugs in the past, I don't think they specifically ever say anything other than weed, but
she claims to have smoked weed once, like, but they don't really go into anything else beyond that.
Right. And it kind of, I think there's the insinuation that the sneezing could be around like her using drugs. And drugs are a huge theme. I mean, I think most people understand the movie to be an allegory for drug use.
Well, and particularly the people that are most impacted by it are the people that were depressed after losing a parent. So there's like depression, drug use to cope with it kind of thing, and then going too far. Like this reminds me of salvia videos, where the people are losing it for like a minute and a half, completely out of their body, and then suddenly they're snapped back. That's basically what the salvia videos were like when salvia was huge. Yeah. But you're like out of your body, and then you're in it again. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There are really strong drug use visuals with that whole thing. I mean, there's like a whole... Like, I don't know what you noticed,
there's the belts
kinds.
that you strap them in. You have to get held in with the belts when they chain you to a chair so that you don't, when you're possessed, you don't lash out, you don't, like, harm yourself effectively. Right. And I thought that was very reminiscent of, like, heroin use or whatever when you're, or any sort of intravenous drug use when you're doing that. What else?
Their pupils get really dilated. Yeah. Very consistent with drug use. They do this like deep gasping like inhale that is really reminiscent of drug use. And then there's this concept that like you can't go too far, otherwise you'll be lost in it. Yeah. So, and that's like also like very strongly related to like drug use,
or at least people's perspectives about drug use. And certainly there are drugs that are dangerous, but I don't know how many times you hear the story about people that have used too much LSD or whatever and they're too bombed out. You know what I mean? Like there's there's that same kind of like connotation there.
Well, and there's this, I didn't think about this until right now, but there's this interesting thing where it's like these kids are putting these parameters around this hand for how to use it safely. And they feel very emboldened by the parameters that they're putting on it, that if they just follow these rules, they can use this hand safely. Yeah. And the reality is that they can't, and they lose control of it. Yeah. And it's
like they say, just stop after 90 seconds. Right. Like who says? Like what are these?
The rule set is arbitrary. Yeah. And I think in that way too, it's a lot like drug use. It's going to differ from person to person, how strongly it affects you, how far you fall into it, and how much it wreaks havoc on your life once you're in it.
Absolutely. And we see that with two characters. We see it with Mia. Well, we see it with multiple characters, but in the main storyline, we see with Mia, who is susceptible to the drug use, and as the friends say, had the craziest possession that they've seen up to that point. And then you also have Riley, who is young. Yes. And then therefore, and often you hear people say, don't do drugs when you're young. Of course, everybody says that pretty much. Like, and because you're still developing, you can't handle it. And Riley actually arguably has the worst possession. Yeah. For a while anyway.
Right. Yeah. And theoretically, those are the two people then that are like, they're the most vulnerable to this hand. And then similarly with drug use. I mean, there's language around it too, where like the way they like film the people afterwards, like how they're feeling afterwards, like euphoric, like after, you know, like certain drug use, and then the way they talk about Riley using it, like, oh no, he's a kid, you know, like don't let him use it, he's too young.
Just a little bit. Right. You know what I mean? Just 50 seconds.
Right. Yeah. And then it ends up getting out of control for both Mia and Riley. Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know. The drug use allegory, I think, was really well done.
It's well done, yeah.
Like, yeah, it was strong, and some people online, I think, have said that it was too heavy-handed. I didn't find it too heavy-handed. I thought it was really good, and it worked with what they were doing really well. So it didn't feel forced to me.
Absolutely. And how many times have you heard somebody, like, has, like, a relative or friend, or if you've experienced this maybe, unfortunately, like you hear people talk about people they know getting on drugs and certain types, and they're like, they're not even the same person anymore.
Yeah.
So that whole idea of like addiction and like using certain types of drugs will change your personality.
Yeah.
But then on the same side, it works so well with possession. So sure, it's heavy-handed. Sure, it's pretty clear if you're looking for that, but it works. So I'm not mad about that.
Grief and how that like interplays with people's experiences with this hand, or like, you know, if the allegory is drug use, how that interplays with people using drugs to kind of like take themselves away from it. Just experience like a little bit of relief from that experience of grief. I thought that was really, really well done.
Absolutely. So story was great, honestly. And I will say, like, it was, for me, it was scary in a way that I wasn't like, didn't get like, my heart wasn't racing too much. I wasn't super like even sweaty in the palms or whatever. So it wasn't like the scariest thing I've ever seen, but I was captivated, especially throughout the intense scenes. I was like, oh, and then when they come down, because there's honestly, the scenes mimic drug use too, because everything's fine. It goes crazy, and then there's a come down afterwards, and then you're like, and then I was like, oh crap, like I'm just like in it, you know, like, so like I will say it was very entertaining. And
there are a couple of scenes that are gruesome. I mean, really, like they went for it. Like there's a scene where Riley is using the hand, and some of the visuals in that are hard to watch. I mean, they are.
Well, the scene brutal. When Riley uses the hand, because I guess he only does it once, right?
That's true. Yeah, the one scene is. It is intense.
It's intense. And I think there's like something even more intense about that self-harm, but it's like, and it, like lots of people know about self-harm. Like there's so many like ways that people do that, but it's so visceral the way that kid is like harming himself. It was like, it was uncomfortable. It was definitely uncomfortable. And then the lack of control, you know, everything I say, I just feel like it goes back to like the drug use allegories or whatever, but it was intense.
Yeah, it was really intense.
But I also thought smartly done. I said this yesterday. There are small blips of really intense visual graphics, but if you probably look at the time frame that takes up the movie, it's a very small amount. It's short, but it's intense.
Well, and I had read an interview with, the like people that made the movie, and they had said, I think, that they couldn't go too far with it.
Yeah.
Because they had to stick within like the rating system. And there's another point towards the end of the movie where there's another very visceral, very gruesome scene. And I think they just that was about as much as they could do.
They said that they had like 2 minutes of it, and they cut it down to like 5 or 10 seconds or something.
Which it's actually more, and you and I talked about this a little bit, but it's more effective. They give you small bits of things, which is much more effective in terms of being scary than having it go on for too long.
Yeah, one of the death knells of horror movies, I said in the car, I was like, it's when they show too much. They show the monster for 2 minutes straight. I love how almost every scene of like the ghosts or the spirits or of Mia's mom is like unclear, blurry. You only see her mouth. You can barely see her face. You only see her full face a few times.
Yeah.
Most of it is behind this haze, behind this it's like clouded.
Mia essentially like talks to the hand, or like talks to the spirit, talks to the hand. Hers goes on for longer than 90 seconds accidentally. When Mia's possessed, she sees the image of a drowning woman, and that's the possession that goes over the 90-second mark for her. And then after that, she starts seeing visuals of her mom without being in that like hand possession state. So she starts seeing her like at her house, at other people's houses. She starts hearing, there's a plot line around her mom where there's passed away and had like wood under her fingernails. Mia starts hearing scratching
on like doors
on
and
doors. Yeah, exactly. And then I mean her mom starts talking directly to her, and there's a big question, I think, around whether that ever is Mia's mom or not.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the other piece of this is that when they let Riley do the hand thing, I don't even know what you want to call that, but like when they
there's like a communication and then the possession.
When they let him use the hand, essentially, he sees the spirit he sees and lets in to him looks like Mia's mom.
Yeah.
And there's a question from the outset of whether that ever was Mia's mom. So
that point or any other point.
Yeah. So did Riley see Mia's mom? Then when Mia is seeing these visuals of her mom later, is that ever her mom?
That is a big question.
Or is it all the spirits pretending to be her mom to lure her further into using and getting caught up in the hand?
So this is where I'm both like really, really like interested in digging into it, but also like this is where some of my criticisms would come from. And I'm not sure if that's me not understanding it or if that's the story not explaining. When we talked about this, like this is an excellent movie. Well, I am confused about like where the spirit's powers lay. Like there seems to be, and maybe this is the kids not understanding what they're playing with, but like you brought up the idea of like, what if this is not a single spirit, but is like a demon just pretending to be people basically, or some sort of like malevolent force rather than just an individual spirit? Because is it ever Mia's mom? Is this thing inhabiting Mia throughout the story and trapped inside of her, or is it able to pass through and communicate with other people? There seems to be some implications here that the drowning lady might be possessing or interacting with other people even after sort of haunting Mia, and I'm not sure exactly how that plays.
And I think I walked away from that ultimately thinking that because she went over the 90 seconds, she's still possessed. So and not in everything that she does.
That seems to be the
they're
clear.
Still there.
Well, I think they basically all but say that too. I don't think that's a mystery because they have Duckett's brother? I forgot his name, Cole or something.
Mm-hmm.
He's like he said like just stop using and they'll eventually leave your body. So there's definitely a strong like she is currently possessed with a spirit or haunted by that spirit after the 90 seconds, and it's the drowning lady, which very clearly sort of melds in with images of her mother during certain points.
Yeah, and it's almost like she's seeing the visual of her mom or she's hearing her mom's voice, but then you'll hear like gurgling noises or like things that are reminiscent of water, which give you the impression that maybe this is actually this drowning woman that possessed her when she used the hand the first time.
Absolutely.
I think to me it's like most believable that it would be kind of like one malevolent spirit that talked to Mia in the first place, and then there's like some kind of conversation that the kids have at some point about like, well, what if when they are inside of you, they know everything about you then? So
all your fears, all your insecurities.
And if that happened, and their whole goal then, because the other thing that's interesting about Mia's possession is that the person that possesses her becomes like very fixated on Riley from the outset and fixated on like, oh, we like you.
The opening scene. Is it because he's young or something? I don't know. But there's like, yeah, you're right. The very first possession.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. And they're like, we want you. So if that's the goal, like if you have a malevolent spirit and their goal is to get to Riley, and the other piece of this is that if someone dies while being possessed by the hand, then the thought is that they remain with the spirits of the hand in this like purgatory, like hell, like nightmare scenario, basically. So they won't let them go. The spirits keep them. So if that's the intention, then what you would want is for Riley to die while possessed, and then Mia, being the weakest member of the group, the most susceptible to like the spirit's intervention, she would be your best option to help you achieve that.
Yeah.
And in that case then, to me it's a situation where that first person that talks to Mia is the spirit throughout that is manipulating everything. That's the spirit then that talks to Riley. Riley never sees Mia's mom, in my opinion. I don't think Mia's mom has anything to do with this other than the fact
that's so convenient too.
The spirit saw that she had grief over her mother and is using that.
When we talked about it too, there seems to be this, like, because at the end, like, you see that you get captured by these spirits and you're one of them now, and you're going to be talking through the hand. But then I brought up the thing of like Mia's mom killed herself.
Right.
She didn't ever talk to these spirits.
No.
So is it like anybody in purgatory? Is it anybody that kills themselves? Or is it that the spirits are pretending to be the people that you know and love? Because so that Mia's mom's not even in there, which Mia's mom could not possess Riley.
Right.
Could not have ever been there at all.
Right.
It's just the fears that get drawn out.
And that's what I would think too, because the way that the spirit knew that they would be able to hold Riley for longer was to pretend to be Mia's mom, because
to stay longer.
That Mia wants nothing more than to get answers from her mom, to talk to her mom,
to connect with her.
Yeah, to connect with her mom.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Because you can see Mia watching videos of her mom, like their interactions. Clearly, they were very close, and it was really important to her. And ultimately, that's why they end up keeping Riley under possession of the hand for too long.
That's why Mia does it specifically. Yeah. She says, no, wait.
Right.
Yeah.
And then those spirits are able to influence Riley to try to kill himself while he's possessed, so that they can keep him.
Have another soul. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Or is it? Yeah. Well, but then there is also that whole, like, you can become one of them, because spoilers, if you see it all the way to the very end, Mia is in the position of talking to somebody using the hand, because she's a spirit now. So it's not that, like, it's not like that the people captured by the spirits go into, like, some other, like, hell. Like, there are spirits there. Mia is a spirit that talks to people. Yeah. Are there also demons? Is Mia going to become manipulative as a spirit? Like, those are questions that don't get answered because it's the end of the movie. But it's either unclear or interesting to think about those ramifications, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it wasn't a perfect movie, but, like, the more we talk about it, the more I think about it, the more I enjoy it. Yeah. Super smart.
Yeah, it's good.
Really, 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 probably the best horror movie of the year. Yeah. I don't really know what's going to top it.
I honestly don't know what else I've seen there.
And I don't know if something really could. Like, I can think, like you said, not my favorite horror movie, like, of all time. Like, I do think there are definitely, like, Ari Aster, Jordan Peele movies that I think are, like, more delicately layered. Yeah. And more intentional.
Maybe a little cleaner in some ways, particularly in the storytelling. The visuals are fantastic.
The visuals are amazing.
Yeah, especially for the budget.
The sound design, too, is so
where they
good.
Bring those things up to set the scene of, like, and like remind you of the spirit that is potentially there.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, like, the music choices, the sound design, all of that. The acting was incredible.
Was incredible. A lot of people mentioned that. That's another thing where I'm like, I hate it when I see actors, and you mentioned it's nice that these are all younger, unknown people. They're not big names. It's a bunch of people you've never seen before, and they're acting their hearts out. Like, holy crap, really every one of them, except for, and I was happy to see her again, the person that plays Jade's mom, which
was in Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings fan, can't help it.
But I don't remember what her name is, but she was really good in that role. Great. It didn't take me out of it at all. No. And like you're saying, like, all the like young adults that played the teens in the movie were really, really believable and really good.
That one kid that was playing Riley's friend came up with, well, I guess the writers said, but had your favorite insult now? You're such a fetus.
He calls Riley a fetus as an insult, and I just think that's so that's such a great insult.
It is.
I'm always looking for more insults that are, like, not really, like, disparaging in terms of, like, someone's intellectual ability or, like, not about, like, their physical appearance. Fetus is great.
Yeah. It's basically you're, like, malformed or something. I don't know.
Or, like, you're so young, you don't know anything. You're incapable of doing anything.
You're not a baby.
You're not even a baby. You're a fetus.
You're a fetus. Yeah, that was good.
And the other one that Mia actually says to that kid that I really like is feral. I love calling people feral is really funny to me also. So there was some really good, good insults.
Those kids were great. They seemed like Riley didn't the kid that played Riley,
really
did
good,
an excellent job, and must be very young.
Yeah.
Like the main cast, Mia Jade.
Yeah.
Like Joss. I forgot the other friend's name.
Haley.
They were all
good.
They were fantastic.
So good. The whole cast is really, really good.
Mia's
Actually,
dad.
I heard a review that said that the woman that played Mia kind of stole the show, and I actually don't agree.
She did a great job. She's a great lead.
As good as she was, and she was really good.
And it was mostly about her.
Like, the person playing Haley, who's like kind of the instigator, the one that everyone's like crowding around, the almost like acts as though they're
she's
like
the dealer.
Owner of the hand.
Yeah.
Really good. I mean,
she was
really
awesome.
incredible. Yeah, the person that played Joss, really, just all of them. Everyone did an excellent job.
Like Cole, Duckett's brother, he was on there briefly, but he did a great job. Like,
so good.
I'm like every single scene, I'm like, this is the movie, this is the thing that's happening. I wasn't seeing actors on a screen. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
and that's what I look for. I want to be transported, and they did that.
Yep.
And it's like in this like alternate. I love like you talk about this like movies don't need to be real or believable. It could be an alternate reality. And I feel like I'm in this alternate reality where they're talking to spirits like a drug. Like it was interesting. I was cool. Like immediately transported there.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
And I'm excited. I hope they make a whole bunch more movies after this.
I would definitely watch more. This is one of those things where it's like their foot's in the door of my heart. And I left that door open. And no, but I want to see more. I want to see more what they come up with.
They've possessed your heart.
They have, yeah. I wouldn't say this is a perfect movie. It is a very good movie, and I want to see more. That's where I am with it.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's also, we're pretty harsh critics. Like
we are actually
in the scheme. I don't know if I would consider like any movie that I've seen to be like a perfect movie. I'd have something critical to say about literally anything I'd watch. Yeah. And this movie was very, very, very good.
Yeah,
very good.
Very good.
So go watch it.
The rating is very good.
Go watch it.
Go watch it.
Buy it on VOD. Like support them financially so that they can keep doing this.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Tell us what you thought. Did you see the movie?
Any crazy theories you want to put down in the bottom of the comments here?
I read some cool stuff on Reddit that's nothing like what we just talked about. So if you feel like you have a different interpretation, like leave it down below.
Press the like button.
Yeah.
Subscribe. We currently, so we'll date this. We have 7 subscribers right now.
7. I feel good about those. I feel good about those 7 people. Right. I like them.
We got 3 likes on a video recently.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. All right. Anyway.